Okay, so in the spirit of PlayStation Blackout Week, I want to use this time to give my take on what I think is wrong with the PlayStation 5 generation. I see a lot of conversations out there about that the PlayStation 5 has an identity crisis. It has no identity. There's nothing that makes the PS5 special. And I absolutely agree with this. And as the generation goes on and on, it's felt sour. People are like, why do we need a PS6, myself included, because the PlayStation 5 generation hasn't even started yet. Game development has increased to like 8 years for a single game. And instead of extending the hardware generation out, these companies still want to make money off of hardware sales. So we're just arbitrarily releasing a new piece of hardware when we haven't even come close to milking out what a console is even capable of doing. And so this whole no discs situation with PlayStation really makes you put them under the microscope. And I feel like we can sit here right now and figure out what the PlayStation 6 generation is going to be. And that's, when that comes out, the generation's probably going to be another 8 to 10 years, and we pretty much know everything about the platform already. We know what the games are going to be, and we know how the games are going to play. But before we get into that, if this is your first time here, be sure to like and subscribe the video, as we just broke 2,000 subscribers, so begins the road to 3,000. Thank you all for being here. I've been having so much fun. So if I had to put one word for why the PlayStation 5 feels so unspecial and why the PlayStation 6 is also going to feel so unspecial, and it's going to compound for that console, it's trilogies. When you think of retro consoles, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, I think of trilogies. PlayStation 1, I think of the Crash Bandicoot and the Spyro trilogies. PlayStation 2, I think of Jak and Daxter. PlayStation 3, Uncharted. Xbox 360, I think of Gears of War. I think of Mass Effect. You had like 4 solid Assassin's Creed games. 5, actually. I forgot about Revelations. I don't know how. That might have been the worst one, but we'll call it solid enough. We had the Modern Warfare trilogy. We also had Black Ops 1 and 2. The Bioshock trilogy. You just have all these trilogies on a single console. And PlayStation's a great example of it, because a lot of their studios, they kind of stopped making games when they moved on to their console. Like Naughty Dog, Crash Bandicoot. And they went over and did Jak and Daxter. And, there were more Bandicoots game made, but not by Naughty Dog anymore. Other studios ended up creating for that IP. And then, then Uncharted, and of course that bled over to Last of Us, and here we are today. But now that all changed starting the PlayStation 4 generation, and with the new trend for open world games, which then directly led into the increased development time. For PlayStation 4, 2 generational defining games was Horizon Zero Dawn for me, and Spider-Man PS4, which I have digital only. I don't make it hidden on this channel that I used to be a hybrid physical and digital gamer. So I have this physical, but I bought Spider-Man digital, right? I was a hybrid. This game defined the PS4 generation for me. This came out before Spider-Man, and I absolutely loved it. I was actually like in a low point of gaming, but when I played this game, I was like, no, I do love gaming. Gaming's back for me. Now, if this was any other generation up until this point, we would have got Horizon 2 and Horizon 3 on the same console, all on the PlayStation 4. But that's just not the reality of it anymore. Granted, like, it's not like it was an inevitability. I think open world has a big role in that, and just maybe just the culture behind game development, and whatever changed on that and led to this. But PlayStation 5, we get the sequel. So now the sequel spread across 2 platforms. And we can tell at this point, especially with the new news about the Horizon Live Service, the live service part shutting down, they're trying to repurpose the game, and they've barely started on part 3. So the third and final version of this game is going to be on PlayStation 6. So instead of the trilogy of games being all on PlayStation 4, they are now spread across 3 generations, 3 consoles. But at the same time, it's still a trilogy of games. There has to be some cohesiveness to the trilogy, and therefore they end up all feeling like the same game. Horizon Forbidden West is cross-generational. You can get it on PS4. This is a PS4 game on PS5. Yeah, there's some performance stuff and graphical fidelity that I guess can only be done on the PlayStation 5. But at the same time, the game itself, the bones of the game, is still a PS4 game. And spoilers if you haven't played this game, it ends with a to be continued. So unless they cancel the game, there's going to be a Horizon Part 3, right? We hope there's a Part 3. I kind of want it to finish. And that is going to be on PlayStation 6. And we're already in the world of diminishing returns when it comes to hardware. So there's only going to be so much that they're going to do with part 3, like, I don't know, ray tracing. The only thing I can really see with the PS6 is going to be true 4K 60, because even on this, I'm not experiencing 4K graphics. I'm changing it to performance mode, which is 1080p 60 frames per second. So the best we can get with PS6 is going to, you can see the graphic fidelity already on PlayStation 5, and you can feel the frames per second on PS5, but you no longer have to choose. Like, that's my prediction for PlayStation 6. But it's still going to be essentially the same game. It's still going to be Horizon Part 3. Yeah, when I go to Xbox 360, Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 3 are totally different games. Gears of War 3 is like way better, way more fleshed out. It's like the perfect version of, the bones of Gears of War. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's a next generational game. It all feels like the same trilogy of games on the one platform. And that's all we're getting here, except it's spread across 3 platforms. So therefore, PlayStation 6 is just going to end up being and feeling like PlayStation 4 Part 3. And when it comes down to it, that's the identity crisis of PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5's identity is PlayStation 4 Part 2. And that's going to compound on the PlayStation 6 for PlayStation 4 Part 3. So you're telling me that with PlayStation 6, I need to spend $1,000+ for this digital only console to spend $80 to $100 on a license to a game that can get revoked at any time for the same games we've been playing since the PlayStation 4, right? The same bones of the games. Graphic fidelity, it's going to look a little prettier for sure, but essentially it's just going to be replaying the same game. Same with Spider-Man, same with God of War, same with the Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei. Like, we're going to get the final pieces of the trilogy or just the next installment of those games on PlayStation 6, but they are still PlayStation 4 games. And so for me, my love for Nintendo and PlayStation has always been the exclusives. I love Mario and Zelda and Metroid and Animal Crossing and Pikmin and Donkey Kong and all those exclusives on Nintendo. But I also like the PlayStation ones too, like Horizon and Spider-Man. And yeah, I haven't played God of War or Ghost of Tsushima. I own the games. They're just big open world games that I know take a lot of time, but I love these games. Except I loved the original ones on the PlayStation 4 way more, and I was actually disappointed with the PlayStation 5 sequels because you kind of expect a generational leap when now, oh, this is only on PlayStation 5, except it's really just a PlayStation 4 sequel. And now, had this game been on PlayStation 4, the exact same game, which it is on PlayStation 4 because it's cross-generational, but if it came out on the PlayStation 4 generation, before PlayStation 5 came out, I would have enjoyed this game way more than I did with PlayStation 5 because there was just like hype to it. Like, there's this heightened expectation that's this next generational game. It's everything I loved about Horizon Zero Dawn, but it can't be done on a PS4. It could only be done on PS5. What could that possibly be? And it turns out it's really not true. It's barely anything. It's a cross-generational game. They released it on PlayStation 4. And so at that point, the PlayStation 5, some of my favorite memories on PlayStation 5 leading up to this point are actually third-party games that I can get on other consoles, and I think that's just going to bleed into PlayStation 6. And at the same time, those third-party games are going to they're just going to be made and optimized for Nintendo Switch 2 because Nintendo Switch is on this offset of the generations, and it's going to be the cheapest console, most affordable, and that is going to be the performance that these third parties are going to have to target to. They're going to play and look better on PlayStation 6, well, definitely look better, but play better. I don't know, 60 frames is all that really matters. I'm hearing great things about the performance of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 on Nintendo Switch 2. And graphics are good enough that I think the trade-off for a $500 console, we're going to call it $550. I'm sure there's going to be a price increase. I won't defend that. But let's call it $600. So if Switch 2 ends up going up to $600, is the graphic fidelity of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 is it worth $400 to play the PlayStation 6 version with the better graphics when you're still getting 60 frames per second either way? I think a lot of people are not gonna care about that, and so I don't think the PlayStation 6 is gonna be this great home for third party games. I've mostly used third party on PlayStation 5. All the first party stuff I've played has been a bit disappointing, except for Astrobot. Astrobot was awesome, except I don't know if it's sold well enough for Sony standards. I honestly do not anticipate a sequel to that game, which is super unfortunate. And yeah, that's what PlayStation 6 I think is going to be. This PlayStation 4 Part 3, safe sequels, and they're going to rely heavily on third parties, as if PlayStation 5 hasn't already been doing that. Look at the biggest push right now is with their partnership with Rockstar for Grand Theft Auto. It's a third party game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, they had that exclusivity deal on PlayStation 5, and I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, but that's the only place you can have it. Another one of my favorite games of the generation, Stellar Blade. It was only on PlayStation 5, but that was just kind of like this deal they had. It's not truly a PlayStation 5 game. It's just this like arbitrary like marketing thing that they're doing to try to get you hooked onto their brand and everything. But I don't know, it's not working for me, and I don't think it's working for many other gamers. I think with the increase of development cycles, hardware cycles should have also increased alongside of it. I think the wait for the sequels to Horizon Forbidden West, I think this would have taken a lot less time if all they had to do was focus on his PS4 version, right? We had all the assets and all the systems built here. You don't have to touch the entire game. You just have to make another game with what you already built. This one might have taken 8 years, but this one could have been substantially faster. Of course, this one didn't take 8 years to make, but it could have been substantially faster, and maybe we would have had part 3 already by now, and you could have said the same with all these other games, and maybe instead of looking forward to the PS6, or what, PS5 came out in 2020, so maybe PS5 could have waited until 2024 or 2025. I don't think we would have lost any sleep with that, because just like any other generation, we would have, like, developers should have figured out how to squeeze more out of the system. And when you only release one game for the console, you're only given one shot to squeeze. And there couldn't have been an optimization phase going on for the sequel to see how much more they could squeeze out of the same system. And then maybe when we got PS5 launch, the games maybe actually would have felt next generation, because they already mastered the PlayStation 4 and moved on to the PlayStation 5, except like the hardware and the architecture is so similar now. So it's like, I don't know, everything's Unreal Engine 5 just being brute force, and I don't know, it's just sad, it's boring, it's stale. What do you guys think? I think with the PlayStation 5's identity being just PlayStation 4 Part 2 and PlayStation 6 most likely going to just be PlayStation 4 Part 3, I think that this just like boring and stale identity makes it so much easier to boycott Sony and PlayStation. And why do I need to shell out like a total of like $1,500, rebuy controllers and accessories and all that just to play the third part to these games? I already know how they're gonna play. At this point, it's so long in between games that it's like I don't even like need the story to be concluded. I'm not like craving and losing sleep over it. I'm just kind of like growing out of it. And so third party games you can play anywhere else. PC, Xbox, Switch 2. I think they're all gonna be optimized for Switch 2. But yeah, PC, or they're probably still gonna be releasing on PS4 and PS5, right? Anything that is like not top AAA games, any indie game or smaller game, still coming out on PlayStation 4. Aren't they releasing the newest Mega Man game? That's still gonna be released on PlayStation 4. And when the architecture is so similar, like there's no reason not to continue to release on PlayStation 4. Sure, that might move into a digital only type of release, but why not continue to support that hardware? It's the same thing. It's just a PS4. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.